Hi, today is July 13th, 2023, and here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 1130 for the year, Way Out. If you can't see the photograph I took last night of one of the Way Out signs in the Holloway tube station on the Piccadilly Line, that might mean that you are seeing me read this poem at the Hope and Anchor in Islington today, Thursday, July 13th, rather than seeing the poem in one of my social media posts. But if you're seeing me read this poem, you've probably seen more way out signs than you can count. And you probably know your way in and out of things a lot better than I do. I'd rather not bet on it or compare notes, but I am reasonably confident about that assertion, even if I may have an unreasonable lack of confidence about many other things. Poem number 1131, The Secret Key. If you're just joining me, one of the things I do is to try to write 5 poems a day on weekdays and 7 on Saturdays and 7 on Sundays, which comes out to about 170 poems a month, except for February's, and comes to a little over 2,000 poems a year. I've kept this up for over a year and a half now, although I started writing daily poems at smaller volumes back in 2020. I post the poems on Instagram, and I post videos of me reading the poems on Facebook and YouTube. The secret key to writing about 170 poems a month, except for February's, is to have quite a loose definition of the word poem. Sometimes the poems are unquestionably poems, but sometimes a very strong argument against the poems actually being poems can be made. I don't like to argue. I'd rather go on to the next one. Poem number 1132, the next one, or Looking Like a Tourist. The next one is about how 7 or 8 months ago I started taking photographs and basing at least one of the daily poems on the photograph and posting the picture along with the poems on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I've been in London for a few days now, but I haven't taken that many photographs because I don't want to look like a tourist. I live in New York where I take a lot of photographs and where apparently I don't care that I look like a tourist. I guess I am less self-conscious about looking like a tourist when I'm not a tourist than when I am one. Poem number 1133, The Way Outs. I am trying to avoid mentioning that whenever I see a way out sign, I am reminded of an episode from the 6th season, or series if you're watching in the UK, of the Flintstones. The episode is called The Masquerade Party, and it featured a musical group called the Way Outs, who looked like they came from outer space, and some people in the town of Bedrock actually thought they were from outer space, but they weren't. They were just a modern Stone Age musical group. I bring this up just to point out that I've not spent all that much time overseas. If I had, I probably would be able to see a way out sign and not think of the Flintstones. It could happen one day, but I am not there yet. And the last poem of the day is poem number 1134, Live in London. As I mentioned, if you can't see the photograph I took last night of one of the way out signs in the Holloway tube station on the Piccadilly Line, that might mean that you are seeing me read this poem live in London. And if you are seeing me live in London, then I don't have to tell you to come to the show because you're already here, and I'd like to thank you for being here. But if instead you are reading or watching me read these poems on social media, I'd like to thank you for that as well. Attention is not easy to get, especially when you're an old fart like me. Between you and me, your attention is worth far more than my poems. And to that one motherfucker in the back of the Hope and Anchor who has been talking the whole time I've been reading, I thank you just for being here, even if you're here for one of the other bands. All right, that's it. Thank you. I don't know if there'll actually be a motherfucker in the back reading, but, talking while I'm reading, but I guess we'll see. All right, thank you. As always, I appreciate you.